he's like 24 or 25 years old. In the NBA, he's bounced around. He's been on 3 different teams in all of his years, and he's only getting 13 points, 5 rebounds, and shooting the ball 45% for his whole career. Then DeMarcus Cousins is a player who's good individually on the floor, but he is like bad news in the locker room. In his first couple years in the NBA, he got a coach fired. He's demanded trades from his team, and he's also causing a lot of drama, getting into fights with his teammates and other players on the court, according to Kelly Scaletta of BleacherReport.com. And Angel Diaz wrote that these are players who are examples of players who are emotionally immature for the NBA. On the physical side of things, there's Greg Oden, who was a great player for Ohio State, and people said he was the next Shaquille O'Neal. But unfortunately, he's had problems with injuries. According to Adam Framal, an NBA.com columnist, he had a bad, big knee surgery in his rookie season, and then he had multiple injuries in the second season, and then he fractured his patella, and he had more knee surgeries following that, and now he's just now getting to play, and he's been in the league for 5 years. And then there's Josh Selby, a former KU player. He was all the hype in high school, but then he had kind of a rough year in college, only got 8 points and 2 assists per game. But he still went to the pros anyway. And in the professional league, he's only getting 2 points, 1 assist, and he has kind of just disappeared in the system. My second topic or point for why the one and done rule is bad for basketball is that student athletes are missing out on a great education. They are robbing themselves of the free scholarships that their universities are offering them that are just great scholarships, and then they have nothing to fall back onto if their career doesn't work out. So for NBA players like Greg Oden, who are probably going to have to retire at age 28, what's he going to do for the rest of his life? He can't play basketball anymore, and he didn't go to college for 4 years, so he doesn't have a degree in anything. Pat Ford at ESPN.com wrote this: "Spare the schools from enabling a sham that makes a mockery of education. Spare the franchises from babysitting unprepared and or immature teenagers. And spare the fans from being force-fed the big lie." That to me basically sums up why the one and done rule is so bad for the NBA, for the fans, for college, and for college basketball altogether. My third reason is that the one and done rule really hurts the college programs. For example, Kentucky, led by coach John Calipari, has had some success but some failure with the one and done rule. Coach Cal is a really good recruiter, so he's been able to put some superstar freshman lineups on the floor the past 5 years at Kentucky. He's won 1 championship. He's been to Final Fours, Elite Eights, Sweet 16s with his teams. He even played in a national, well, he didn't play, his team played in a national championship tonight, even though they lost because they were inexperienced and didn't really know what to do in the last couple of minutes. Coach Calipari, who's experienced more success with the one and done rule than any other college coach, said himself that he wants a change, according to BleacherReport.com. He recommends probably a 2-year plan. Other coaches and other people in the media suggest that they change the rule to more like baseball, where players can choose to go to the minor leagues straight out of high school, or to the NBA, to the professional league straight out of high school, or they can choose to go to college. But if they choose to go to college, they're forced to stay there for 2 or 3 years. And that sounds like a good plan to me. But back to how it's hurting college basketball programs, there's teams like Kansas, Duke, and Texas that are hurt a lot by losing their star freshmen. Kansas, for example, lost Xavier Henry after the 2008 season when KU got knocked out in the second round. And he's a player who was really good as a freshman in college, but then in the pros, he was drafted in the lottery, but he hasn't really turned out to be as good of a player as people thought he would be, and he would have benefited greatly from having another year. Also, KU would have benefited greatly from having him for another year, because because they kind of struggled to put high offensively talented teams on the floor, even though they've had some success. Also, KU recently lost Andrew Wiggins, who was like a superstar freshman this year. And he played very, very poorly in their 2 games of the tournament, even though they were a top-ranked team and expected to go far. And he still chose to go to the NBA. I have here this pennant where Andrew signed right there where it says AW. It's kind of hard to see because the whole team signed it. And that just goes to show that I'm a fan who is greatly hurt by this. And Kansas, I think, will be hurt by it too, because next year may be a struggle for the Jayhawks. But there's also Duke. Duke lost Kyrie Irving, a player who was ineligible for most of the season or injured and only played a little bit at the end, but he didn't really do much. And then he went to the professional league anyway, and he's had a lot of success. But Duke was hurt greatly by just having him on the team, just sit on the bench and not really do anything but have the camera show him on TV once in a while. Duke also had a player named Austin Rivers, very good in college, and he left after 1 season and hasn't done much of anything in the NBA yet. So Duke would have benefited greatly by having these two when they lost in the first round to Mercer this year. Then there's Texas. Texas was a really good basketball school up until they had Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant put them on a different level, and he was just one of the greatest college players in the history of the game, but he still left after 1 year. Ever since then, Texas has not done much at all. They haven't won a conference championship like they did with KD, Kevin Durant. They haven't made it past, I don't think, the Sweet 16 since they had Kevin Durant. And they've just been hurt a lot by losing him. If they had kept him, he would have drawn in more recruits. They could have built up a better program and stayed strong over the years. But since he was able to just leave after 1 year, that hurt them a lot. To review the reasons I think the one and done rule is really bad for college basketball is because players are emotionally and physically too immature for the NBA. They're robbing themselves of an education and also wasting the school's resources educationally. And they're hurting the college basketball programs they play for by just leaving after 1 season. This was kind of a tough topic. I didn't really understand that I was supposed to persuade you as a class to do something about it as much as just persuade someone out there to do something about it. And yeah, but I think that I did a good job of persuading you that my opinion is correct, maybe. So, but thank you for listening and thank you for your time.